Hello everyone. So I know it's been a bit since my last video update, about a week, but since my last video I've made several updates and there were a lot of changes I had to overcome, specifically with unit placement and movement, as well as challenges with drawing the water tile border. But let's go over some changes and updates. You might notice right off the bat that we have a new design for the units. I've decided to go with an armless unit, and not only is this to save me time on animation, but also it'll allow me to do some interesting things with the tools and weapons, that there will be more on that later. Also, another thing that you'll notice is now we have somewhat better graphical version of the water. I tried using the rule tiles, but quickly I found out that those were not very effective for processing speed. So when I would load up the game, essentially it would be like Lag City. I assume the tile had, or I assume that the rule tile was written to update automatically on its own, even during playtime. But it ended up causing a wide variety of issues, specifically like lag spikes, and even would sometimes crash the game on larger maps. For now, I've opted for my own system that does its own checks only on map draws and not constantly, so this will help with some planned features. For one, I've also optimized the pathfinding even further to help reduce the lag on larger maps, thanks to Sebastian Lang's videos on pathfinding, which I'll probably leave in the description. I've begun work on the UI as well. Right now it's not working, but it will be in the future. Probably the very near future. I'm going to be adding maybe like a little pop-up here for when you select units to kind of show you who you have selected, and also another drop down and or pop out on the side, or maybe a button down here that'll allow you to see the current tasks that are being performed by your units, and then make decisions on whether to cancel those or not from there. And lastly, the biggest hurdle for me this week, this previous week, was my units grouping. So before I only had it to where you could move one unit at a time, and I actually used the E button to move the unit wherever my mouse was pointing. I'd gone about the group formation in this really obscure way originally, and needless to say, I ended up scrapping the whole system, mostly because it could only support up to 9 units, and we had planned to allow up to 15, along with other complications with unit positioning. I decided to scrap it. So I took a small break, spent some time with friends and working at my job, and just like most great ideas, it all kind of came to me at once. So if you look here, in the new system, we have a target location, which you'll see up there on the map. If you look in this area, we have a target location, and then from there, we kind of offset that location. If there's a collision, so say I hover over these trees, you'll see it offsets to the right. Even if I'm in a collidable area, it automatically offsets to whatever the next non-collidable area would be. And then from that position, we add it to essentially a list of formation data and a list of closed positions, so that we don't go to that same position again. And then we circle the first position starting from the top left and circling all the way around, top left, up, upper right, right, and so on, checking all the spaces around it to see if the spaces are non-collidable or collidable. And then we add the formation of the next non-collidable area to a list, and then also to my close points. From there, we then check around the first again for the next position in the circle, excluding any near checked spaces, like any nearby checked spaces. So if we've already hit a space, skip it. And if a space is already counted as non-collidable, skip it. That way we don't check the same spaces over and over again. So we do that, and if we check them all and there's no space to add, we then check to see if our list of formations is greater than our initial space. So if it's greater than 1, we shift up to the next in the array and go from that position, doing the same in the circle, checking around it to see if there's any collidable areas. And we keep doing this until we fill up essentially all our positions. But if we, in that first check, if we check around the circle and there's no valid locations and the total is the same, then we break out of the loop. So the big thing, like you'll see here, hold on. Let me move this little guy back down here. So the big thing is that you'll notice here, and then if you look up in the right, or up in the top here, you'll notice that we can also formulate or automatically like offset around collidables, which is really nice, and it kind of like flow in and out. Another cool thing is I can place on the side of an object. So before on my previous algorithm, if I did this, they would kind of split on both sides of an object, and I didn't want that. Obviously, you don't want all your units split up. You kind of want them to stay together, unless I added a feature to allow you to split them. So that's why I kept it this way. And you can see they kind of just meld all around them. It looks great, and the best part is it works great. So if I right click, you'll see they all move there perfectly and get into their positions. And then we can take all 25 and move them back here. It is working perfectly. All my little dudes there. But that is about it for this update for today. I plan on working more in the near future and maybe adding some other stuff. For right now, there's a small issue with moving 2 units into the same spot. So say I select both these units and I try to move them, they'll actually move away from each other instead of just moving one into the spot and the other one staying where they're at. So that's something I have to work on because they were supposed to both be moving into the same spot. Other than that, everything is working phenomenally. So like I said, that's it for the updates today. If you can subscribe and maybe like this video for more updates, that would be great. I really appreciate it. And thanks, and I'll talk to you guys soon.